why do people tend to experience an itchy scalp during their starter lock phase? The most obvious reason is simply due to the fact that people prolong washing their locks, especially for the first time. Hey baes, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Alexandra. First and foremost, what do you guys think of my new light setup? You guys feeling it? It's real moody. It's real like dark and mysterious. I'm trying out some different things with my content, and lighting is one of the things that I'm experimenting with. So let me know in the comments below if you're feeling this, okay? So on today's video, we are going to be talking about dealing with like an itchy scalp, especially during that starter lock phase. And I definitely experienced itchiness during the first couple of months of my starter lock phase, and trust me, you are not alone if you are experiencing this too. I'm going to explain some of the reasons why you may be experiencing itchy scalp, and then some things that you can incorporate into your routine, maintenance, products that you can use to help alleviate it. So let's go ahead and jump right into things. So first and foremost, why do people tend to experience an itchy scalp during their starter lock phase? The most obvious reason is simply due to the fact that people prolong washing their locks, especially for the first time. And as a result, the product buildup that you are experiencing on your scalp, the dirt, the buildup of oil, all of that can actually lead to an itchy scalp. So the best thing to do is wash your hair. In particular, you're going to be focusing on washing your scalp. And again, being mindful of not prolonging your first wash after you install your comb coils or your two-strand twist, but even throughout that, keeping up with a routine in which you are going to actually wash your locks. When I started my locks, I started with the two-strand twist method, and I washed my locks for the very first time exactly 2 weeks after installing my two-strand twist. The reason being, my scalp was very itchy. I also work out, so that buildup of all that sweat and everything on my scalp definitely led to an uncomfortable scalp environment, and I went ahead and washed my hair. Now again, for anybody who is new here, I offer so many different tips and advice on how you can go about washing your locks, especially during the starter lock phase. And again, when you are washing your locks, you're not actually washing your locks, you're focusing on actually cleansing your scalp, and then you're gonna let the shampoo kind of flow down the length of your locks, and that is going to essentially cleanse it. But you don't need to be going in and actually putting friction and scrubbing your locks. You want to focus on the scalp. That is the focus of where the hair care is going to come in, is keeping that scalp clean and healthy, and then just allowing the suds from the shampoo to flow down the rest of your locks, gently kind of squeezing it and then letting it rinse out. Another reason why people also experience that itchy scalp is probably just the adjustment to the new routine. For a lot of people, locks is a low manipulation way of keeping their hair, and it's probably the first time in which they've actually worn their hair out. It's the first time in which their scalp is probably exposed, especially for somebody that does like a lot of protective styles, or somebody that may be wearing wigs prior to actually starting your starter lock journey. So just that whole new routine can definitely kind of like just shake up the scalp and kind of expose you in your scalp in a way that you didn't really experience before. Dryness and lack of moisture is also a huge reason as to why people experience itchy scalp during their starter lock phase. So having a routine, and again, using the right products, but also keeping up with those products is very important too. So I always say for myself, I use a rose water spray throughout the week, probably like 2 times a week. I'll slightly spritz my hair with rose water spray, and then I use a hair oil mix that I create myself that consists of a little bit of castor oil, sweet almond oil, tea tree oil, as well as eucalyptus oil. And I add those few drops of those essential oils into my oil mix, and I oil my scalp probably like once a week, right? The thing is, you don't want to over oil your scalp because that can lead to product buildup, but you also don't want to under oil your scalp, if that makes sense. So having a good balance of making sure that you're keeping your hair hydrated and then sealing in the hydration from that rose water spray or that water spray, or even a good leave-in conditioning spray, sealing it in with a good oil is important, but also not overdoing it, but not underdoing it. So like I said, for myself, I do it once a week, and that simply is just me paying attention to my scalp. If I feel like throughout the week my scalp is starting to feel a little bit dry, it's getting a little bit flaky. And I'm talking about this now even with me having locks that are mature, but this is also applicable to the starter lock phase as well. If I notice those things, then I'll go in and do my weekly lock maintenance routine. On top of that, I also have a consistent routine with washing my locks. So I'll actually wash my locks every 2 weeks, and I'll go ahead and do my, retwist like every 4 weeks. I'm telling you this because it can also be helpful for you in your routine, especially during the starter lock phase. Establishing a routine early on is very important. So definitely make sure that you are washing your hair consistently. That could be every week, 2 weeks. I definitely don't encourage anybody to go more than a month without washing their hair, because that can really cause a lot of product buildup and lead to a very itchy scalp. Focusing on preventing product buildup. So how can you focus on preventing product buildup? Again, keeping up with a consistent routine of washing your locks, but also being mindful of the products that you use, making sure that you're using lightweight oils, lightweight moisturizers, staying away from heavy gels and heavy creams that can cause product buildup, not only just on your scalp, greases as well, but on your locks as well. And overall, it just kind of leads to this, again, unhealthy scalp environment that can cause a lot of itchiness and uncomfortableness down the line. Another reason why it's also very important to make sure that you are properly tending to your scalp health is that when you do experience itchiness, and sometimes itchiness to the point where it becomes unbearable, you can also cause a lot of damage to your actual hair, because all that constant friction of you scratching your scalp can also lead to friction on your hair and lead to breakage down the line. So again, don't ever put yourself in a position where you are compromising the health and the cleanliness of your scalp environment for the sake of your locks, right? Water is going to be your locks' best friend. Hydration is going to be its best friend. Keeping your hair hydrated, keeping your locks hydrated is going to encourage not only the locking process, but it's also going to encourage that your locks do not thin and break over time. So don't be afraid to go ahead and wash your scalp if it's been some time and you know you've been using a lot of products. Don't be afraid to go in and start spritzing your hair throughout the week with a lightweight moisturizer, a lightweight mist like a rose water to help kind of bring some hydration back into your scalp environment, especially if it's during a time of year where the air in the environment is very cold during the wintertime, especially where you live as well, right? Like, you're gonna have to make adjustments depending on the environment in which you're in. You may have to up the frequency in which you're misting your locks from maybe once a week to probably like twice a week, because where you are, the winters can be pretty brutal. So again, having a routine, but also keeping up that routine with the different environmental seasons that you're in, and then also making sure that you're constantly paying attention to your overall health of your hair is going to be very key. Lastly, I want to also encourage that you are also always sleeping with a satin scarf and bonnet to ensure that the moisture that you are helping to introduce into your locks is actually being retained, right? So do not sleep on cotton pillowcases, because cotton can actually pull moisture away from your hair. Focus on satin or silk bonnets, and of course, just practicing the habit of keeping your hair covered at night is also important too, because it also alleviates frizz as well. And frizz can happen as a result of dryness to the hair, but also other things like too much friction on it, right? So keeping your hair covered after you do all of those moisturizing routines is very important. Okay, so hopefully this video was very helpful to anyone out there. If you are in that starter lock phase, remember to just pay attention to what your scalp is saying to you, if for lack of a better words. Pay attention to how it feels, pay attention to how it looks. If you're seeing dryness, if you're seeing flakiness, then consider washing your scalp. Consider maybe reflecting on the consistency and the frequency of which you're keeping it hydrated and moisturized. And then also, if it is a very severe form of itchiness and flakiness that you are experiencing, then definitely consider following up with a dermatologist, because it could be something more serious. This video and the advice that I'm giving right now is for more, people who are experiencing like mild, itchiness and flakiness. But if it's something that's extremely severe, extremely uncomfortable, then definitely want to follow up with a professional, okay? If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave some comments below, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.